Welcome back, fourth graders. I hope you had a great weekend. If you remember, we were working on a story at the end of last week called The Gardener. And from that story, The Gardener, we had to infer meaning. We had to use inference. And we got to the end of that story and we were trying to infer whether Uncle Jim would finally give us a smile at the end. And as many of your classes found out as you talked through it, most of you probably guessed he would at some point. I mean, Lydia Grace was doing all these nice things for Uncle Jim, and his business was starting to come back, and the bakery was looking up. Everything was going well for Uncle Jim, but yet he still couldn't quite smile. So we were inferring from all the other clues in that story that he would. At least most of my kids in my story did. But there was one thing that we said was kind of like a smile, and that was that cake. So today we're going to infer again. We're going to use inference. We're going to infer meaning, and we're using these things called context clues. And I have a story in front of you here called The Rat Loves Spring. It's getting to be that time of year where, in fact, tomorrow, Groundhog Day, we're starting to turn our eyes towards the next season. I would like to believe that we're closer than we are. We still have a lot of winter left to go, but we're starting to think about that next season a little bit. And here's a picture of a rat who loves spring. And there's a story, a short little paragraph here, story that goes along with this picture. And if you notice, there's 5 dark underlined words. Those 5 underlined words are nonsense words. I'll just give you that right now. These are from nonsense words. They're not real words. But believe it or not, you can actually still infer meaning with nonsense words. You'll be surprised at how close you can get to the actual story. Using context clues to infer meaning, even though there's these nonsense words. Let's take a look. It says, the rat zerraked over the log. Zerraked. Who knows? He shaloped. Shaloped through the forest as fast as his little legs could go. When he got to the crete of grass, he stopped and looked around. For as far as his langstones could see were flowers in full bloom. The rat was so pole-stoned that he couldn't stop smiling. Wow, there's some really unusual, strange words. They're nonsense words. They're not actually words that are real. But believe it or not, you already are starting to infer meaning. I can hear the wheels spinning in most of your heads. You're starting to already put words that could fit in place of this word zerraked. The rat zerraked over the log. Well, here's that log. The rat zerraked over the log. I wonder what he could do over the log. What's a word that we could substitute in place of zerraked? Think about that. We have another word, shaloped. He shaloped through the forest as fast as his little legs could go. I wonder what we could substitute or put in the place of shaloped. So he zerraked over the log and he shaloped through the forest as fast as his little legs could go. When he got to the crete of grass, he stopped and looked around. He got to the crete of the grass. He stopped and looked around. For as far as his langstones could see, what could be in place of langstones? What's a word that actually would fit there that could mean the same thing as langstones and actually make sense? The rat was so pole-stoned that he couldn't stop smiling. All right, well, pause right here with your teacher and start to think through what could go in place of these 5 words. Start talking about it. See if you can figure out, using context clues, the things that go around those underlined words, and infer some meaning from these nonsense words. All right, let's take a pause, check it out. All right, I'm going to give you a little more help. If you and your class have been trying to figure that out and you're stuck, here's a word bank. I'm just going to pause this now after I take a look at this word bank. Are those the kinds of words that you were able to substitute in, that you were able to put in place of those 5 underlined words to make meaning? All right, let's pause one more time, see if this matches up with what your class was thinking. All right, well, let's see if you agree with the actual answers, the words that should fit for those 5 unknown nonsense words. See if you agree. It says, the rat zeracked over the log. Well, from the word bank, ran kind of makes sense, but it says over. Using context clues, if it's over the log, it'd have to be jumped over the log. The rat jumped over the log. So there he is, jumping over the log. He shaloped, that'd be ran. He ran through the forest as fast as his little legs could go. When he got to the crete, now you might have thought, well, to the edge of the grass or the edging of the grass or the beginning of grass. But since we have this word bank, field best fits in there. When he got to the field of grass, and there it is, the grass out there, the field of grass, he stopped and looked around. For as far as his Langstones, that might be the easiest one, his eyes could see. For as far as his eyes could see were flowers in full bloom. The rat was so polestone or happy that he couldn't stop smiling. So even with nonsense words, words that mean nothing at all, we can actually infer meaning. We can use context clues to understand what the author is trying to say. The rat jumped over the log. He ran through the forest as fast as his little legs could go. When he got to the field of grass, he stopped and looked around. For as far as his eyes could see were flowers in full bloom. The rat was so happy that he couldn't stop smiling. I don't know if I see him smiling. Well, anyway, that's what the story is. Well, in our packet today, you're going to have an assignment. We haven't used this yet together, but your teachers might be using this in small groups or with other activities that you're doing. There's a section towards the back that has some more of these, what's called nonsense words, and we use context clues to try to figure them out. So I'll put some PDFs on the assignment page for you to look at and try if you don't have this packet. Most of you have this packet from our January materials. So it's in the back of that, towards the back. There's a couple pages there where you use context clues. And maybe your teacher will do it together with you, or maybe they'll make it an assignment on your own. But remember, even with nonsense words, you can try to figure it out. You might not be exactly right, but you can use some context and come pretty close. Let's see. It was the first day of school and we were running late. I groaned as Mom picked up her camera. Can I please just take 1 kilofrac? What? Kilofrac? What do you think a kilofrac could be? Now, even though it's a total nonsense word, I bet a lot of you have a pretty good idea what a kilofrac could be. It's kind of fun to try these, even if you might not be exactly right. Using your inference, using what you know as background knowledge and what you read to try to figure things out, to get meaning from some of these kind of strange and unusual words. There's also a Brain Pop video on context clues. You can watch that as well. A couple minutes there for you to find out some more about this. And then we will see you again tomorrow. Good luck.